Shalom, all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Rekah Korash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who rule well, who teach well, and a sincere salutation to all the Akim pushing this truth throughout the four winds of the earth, waking up the hopeful elect. Coming to another lesson, Lord's willing to be edifying. This is just a short clip, 16-minute the video of a Jake woman that's putting out the truth about these churches, these pastors, the 501c3 charter, okay, the tax exempt. Just, she's giving you the straight truth. So, just a little short clip, and I'm going to let her speak, and I might say a couple of things, but this is just more proof about what's going on in the world that our people, the so-called Negroes, the so-called Hispanics, Latinos, and Native Americans, they are asleep on.
Truth unveiled here, and once again, this is a warning about these churches and the warning to get out of the church quick, because the deception goes much deeper than what you think it does, and not only that, it is just as bad as this sun worship, and I'm going to tell you the agenda right now. These churches and these pastors are not only pimping you out with so-called tithes, but what they're also doing is that they are working directly with your government. They are working directly hand in hand with these FEMA camps in order to place you into these FEMA camps. And you don't want to be victim to that. So I have a lot to go over with, and I just want to start right now. So I'm on I'm on the truthnews.info, and it says right out of a Nazi player movie, you just cannot get more fascist than this. The churches are being forced to go along with FEMA, with losing their 501c3 tax exemption, to prepare their communities to relinquish their firearms and obey their officials and leaders by taking Romans chapter 13 out of context. Now, let me give you some background and information on 501c3s. 501c3s, in order for any church or a church organization to even receive money or funding through the government, they have to get a 501c3 tax exemption. That way they're not going to be taxed. Now, any time when a church receives a 501c3, they're no longer doing it for the truth. They are doing it for the government. They have to follow the government's orders. They have to sign a ton of documents stating what they can say, what they cannot say. There's just a bunch of deception that goes along with 501c3s. And here are articles and links in a news report of this assault on America. There's also a video. And so what's the agenda here? When martial law is declared, when there is a state of emergency declared, and there's already the starts of states of emergency, what these churches and pastors are going to do is they're going to brainwash their congregation into being subservient to the government. They're going to tell them to give up their guns. They're going to tell them that they must obey the government in case of an emergency. There's already pamphlets and things listed out that these pastors can and cannot say to people who have been affected by these natural disasters or these state of emergencies. And case in point, and to make the long story short, the pastors are going to try to get you into these FEMA camps. They're going to lead you into the slaughterhouse, literally. And I'm trying to let you know and awake you now, do not fall for it. So it says, a pastor has come forward to blow the whistle on the nationwide FEMA program, which is training pastors and other religious representatives to become secret police enforcers who teach their congregations to so-called obey the government in preparation for a declaration of martial law, property and firearms seizures, and forced relocation. Now, if you watch my video, you have no more rights, because it's just the truth. You don't have any more rights. You can look up the executive orders that your lovely presidents have signed into office, which, by the way, all of which are unconstitutional. But now, if you look up these executive orders, and I'll try to look them up myself for you, the government basically can take away your house, they can take away your kids, they can take away you, and they can force you into relocation into these FEMA camps. And now they so-called have the right to do it because of these executive orders. Not only that, but they own your house, they own your apartment, they own your garden, they own everything. So, in March of this year, the pastor, who we shall refer to as Pastor Revere, was invited to attend a meeting of his local FEMA chapter, which circulated around preparedness for a potential bioterrorist attack, any natural disaster, or a nationally declared emergency. The FEMA directors told the pastor that attended that it was their job to help implement FEMA and Homeland Security directives in anticipation of any of these eventualities. So basically, your pastor is working hand in hand with FEMA, DHS, and the government to put you into these FEMA camps. The first directive was for pastors to preach to their congregations Romans chapter 13, the often taken out of context Bible passage that was used by Hitler to hoodwink Christians into supporting him in order to teach them to obey the government when martial law is declared. And I'll show you this link, and I'll show you the document as well. It was related to the pastors that quarantines, martial law, and forced relocation were a problem for state authorities when enforcing federal mandates due to the cowboy mentality of citizens standing up for their property and Second Amendment rights, as well as farmers defending their crops and livestock from seizure. Remember, like I always tell you, the government, what do? They cause the problem and offer the solution. So what are the problems they're going to cause? They're going to cause all this chaos and disaster. They're going to cause these race riots. They're going to cause all this stuff. They're already training your government and your military. They're already training them with drills in Texas in order to prepare for race riots, in order to prepare for race wars. They're already training them to prepare for just beyond chaos in this country. They're training them to prepare for no more food in stores. They're training them to prepare for people being on the streets, rioting and massacring the streets. And so what is their solution going to be? If you are a so-called Christian, or if you're in any church or religious organization, or you're affiliated with it, they're training their pastors already to get you ready and to become subservient to the government, to lead you to the FEMA camps. And it's important that you see it. So I'm also going to go to the report here. And by the way, this was back in 2006. This was almost 10 years ago, folks. So you can imagine how much progress they have right now. And it basically says the same thing as we read earlier. Again, I'll leave this link below too. But what I want to show you actually is the actual document that FEMA has given pastors. And it says Pastoral Crisis Intervention, an overview of pastoral crisis intervention and debriefing. And I saw another one that I'll try to lead you to as well if I can find it, and I'll leave a link below for it. But this is based on the Seventh-day Adventist Church. So I'm telling you, all these churches, it doesn't matter what denomination you are, Pentecostal, non-denominational, I don't care. They're all playing the same game. They're all playing for the same team. And that's Team FEMA, that's Team Government, and that's Team New World Order. Yes, they are all on the bad side, and they're going to try to lead you to these FEMA camps. And so they says, human suffering is universal and pervasive, but healing and recovering is unique, depending on the casualty's faith, mindset, and whether what they do is healthy or unhealthy. Though curing methods, including medication, can bring temporary relief and cure, the healing and wholeness cannot be completely achieved through them. Finding temporary relief from physical, mental, and emotional pain is not healing, but anesthetizing. When a crisis appears in one's life, it affects the whole person, one's physical, mental, social, and spiritual being. The human being cannot be separated from the part of him affected, not even in the healing process. Therefore, in the healing and recovery process, the whole person must be involved. In search for healing, it is not only for the psychological, emotional, and physical cure, but also for relational and spiritual transformation. So what is going on here? Your government is training pastors and mentally conditioning pastors psychologically, emotionally, physically, and mentally to tell you to get ready for these FEMA camps. And it's basically a whole training. Remember, it is mind control. That is what the government must do. And all these churches that are under the 501c3, they must obey the government, and they must do what the government tells them. What is the government telling them to do? The government is telling them to get their congregation into these FEMA camps, get their congregation to obey the government and get them into the FEMA camps. And as you can see, it lets them know the difference between trauma, crisis, disaster, and stress. Basically, the government's giving them everything to say when these things start to happen, and giving them things not to say. Like I said, I'm not going to go through all of it. It's 33 pages, but I highly recommend you read it yourself. And I'm going to try to find another one that highlights the same things. Because like I said, That's exactly what they're going to try to do. We know they used, remember, they try to twist scripture, and they try to twist everything they can in order to serve a purpose, and that is the purpose of religion. That's why I'm trying to get you all out of religion, out of Christianity, and out of the lies, and into truth, who is Yahuwah and his son Yahusha, the restored names. Because what has religion done? I don't know if you all know.
Now we know the restored names, she close, but we know the restored names as Yahweh and Yahweh Shah.
This, but Christianity is the top religion that has killed the most people worldwide in history, and that's just the truth. But what has it done? It Slave masters were able to twist and turn the Bible's words to make it so that slaves can be subservient to them, when we know this is not the case, and strip.
Right, and I'm gonna get one verse to prove that. Cause she said Romans 13. I'm gonna read that in a little bit. But this is Ephesians chapter 6, verse 5. This is one of the verses that they use. Servants, be obedient to them that are your masters, according to the flesh, with fear and trembling, in singleness of your heart, as unto Hamashiach. It says, servants, be obedient to them that are your masters. Okay? So that's one of the verses that they use to try to tell the people to obey their masters.
These so-called slaves away from their true identity, because yes, so-called Negroes are the chosen. You can read about that in Deuteronomy 28. But
Now she says so-called Negroes are the chosen, which she correct. But the so-called Negroes, the so-called Hispanics, and the so-called Native Americans, okay, they makes up the 12 tribes of Israel, the Southern Kingdom and the Northern Kingdom. So it's not just the so-called Negroes, the so-called Hispanics, and the so-called Native Americans.
is that all? Well, now it looks like your government's trying to do it again, twist the word and twist scriptures in order to fulfill agenda, just like Hitler did in World War II. It's no different. And just like Stalin did in Russia, it's the same thing. Now I'm going to take you to this other article, Dave Hodges' The Common Sense Show, because he also talks about it as well. Pastors to help DHS in arrest and detention of Americans in FEMA camps. And he posted this on February 25th, 2015. As you can see, whenever you see the clergy response team, just know they are part of the 501c3. They are part of this agenda. They're serving the government over Yahuwah. And it says the fact that FEMA has recruited up to an estimated 28,000 pastors, let me highlight that, 28,000 pastors, as a low-end estimate to as many as 100,000 pastors as a high-end estimate, in order to form the clergy response team, is very disturbing, not to mention frightening, because like I said, this clergy response team, what is their job? Their job is to put you in these FEMA camps. Not only that, but I don't know if you all have been paying attention, but there's been a lot of people passing out pamphlets and other information in certain malls, stores, department stores, retail stores, grocery stores, trying to get you into FEMA, trying to lure you into FEMA. Do not fall for this. It says the reports of pastoral betrayal are now coming in from multiple sources, and there's nothing like denying it because it's here. And of course, they give videos and other sources. Like I said, the clergy response teams is real. So, and like I said, what is their job? To get you into these FEMA camps. So you have to be aware of this stuff. It is coming. It's already here. And like I said, I'm trying to get people out of these churches, not only because spiritually, because going to church on Sunday breaks the fourth commandment, which is to honor the Sabbath. But not only that, but now you see what these churches and what these pastors, how they're not only pimping you out of your money, but now they're also going to lead you to these FEMA camps. And I'm going to do a subsequent video on FEMA camps later on, just to tell you how dangerous these FEMA camps really are, and how they're just like prisons. And they are detention camps. You thought those detention camps you saw in World War II are bad. Well, the FEMA camps are even worse. So I'm going to do a video on that as well, but I want to take you to this other article by Lisa Haven, and she posts a ton of good stuff. And she says, FEMA pastor speaks out and reveals a dirty little secret about what they'll be called to do by the government when asked, warning you may not like what you're about to hear. So she says, by now, most of you are aware of the infamous group formed by FEMA and DHS, who recruited 28,000 pastors to be part of the clergy response team. And of course, she goes into the clergy response team as well, which is a team of pastors whose duty it will be in the event of any beck and call from the government to round up citizens, be it for a catastrophe, outbreak, whatever they deem necessary. These pastors have sold not only their congregations out, but they also left Yahuwah at the doorstep by doing so. So, and she also quotes the comments and show as well. We see it here again. So I want to show you all this because it's very important. And I'll also try to lead you to a video I saw of congregations are already starting it. Pastors are already brainwashing their congregation, and they're already leading their congregation into the slaughterhouse. Because I saw this one video of a congregation that even went over Romans chapter 13, and I'm going to try to find that video for you so you can see it for yourself. Again, and I found the link. So Chuck Baldwin and a few other ministries have already started with this Romans 13 and trying to get their congregation subservient to the government, because that is what they're doing. This is once again reported by Lisa Haven, but I wanted to just bring this to your attention because, like I said, it says what? I pledge to do my best to follow the law. I pledge to thank a police officer or deputy for their service. I pledge to call 911 if I see someone suspicious in my neighborhood. I pledge to watch the back of our officers as they fulfill whatever else that says. And I pledge to pray for the safety of all members. Now, why is this a red flag? Because, like I said, they're already starting. It's already begun. Churches and congregations are already using Romans chapter 13 and other means necessary to make you subservient to the government, to FEMA camps once disaster strikes. And I just want you all to know that this should be a double, if not triple reason to get out of the church quick and stay out. Because I'm telling you, it's going to lead you to the slaughterhouse. It even talks about in scripture, leading the sheep to the slaughterhouse. And that's literally what these churches are doing. That's what your government's doing. And they're doing it through these churches. They're doing it through this Zionist, Jewish, Bolshevism scheme. Because we never were a democracy to begin with. But now this is real. If you want to talk about fascism, socialism, communism, we are here, folks. So I want to bring this to your attention. Please share this with your loved ones who may still be in church. And if you happen to go to a church or happen to see a clergy response team member, or you happen to have a pastor who has lately been talking about the government and about what they're doing and about being subservient to the government, or even having a Bible study or lesson on Romans 13, please let us know. Share it with us, because like I said, I don't go to church anymore because I know it's a form of sun worship, but you all need to really understand the real agenda behind it and see where we are and where these churches will lead you if you continue to go. Now, I hope your eyes have been awoke. I hope you are fully awake now, because like I said, this is real, it's happening, and now it's time to come into truth, who is Yahuwah and his son Yahusha. This is Truth Unveiled. Shalom.
And we know that's Yahweh and Yahushua. But she on point. Okay? She on point, man. And we've been telling you this, man, for the longest. Get ready. Now, she mentioned Romans 13. I read to you Ephesians 6 and 5 when it say, servants, be obedient to your masters. Okay, that's the verse they used to us when we was in slavery. This is the other verse that she mentioned in Romans chapter 13. And it reads, let every soul be subject unto the higher powers. Who are the higher powers? The elites, the Rothschilds, and all the other 1% of banking families. Okay, this is the scripture that they are using, that they're having the pastors to use. That Ephesians 6 and 5, and this is another one. This is Romans chapter 13, verse 1. Let every soul be subject unto the higher powers. Now this cut, the second line cuts that whole thing. It said, for there is no power but of God. The powers that be are ordained of God. That's why they're using pastors, because they're saying the powers that be are ordained of God. Whosoever therefore resisteth the power, meaning the elites, resisteth the ordinance of God. This is what they using. This is what she talking about they using. It say, whosoever therefore resisteth the power, resisteth the ordinance of God, and they that resist shall receive to themselves damnation. This is how they trying to scare the people, twisting the scriptures. For rulers are not a terror to good works, but to the evil. Wilt thou then not be afraid of the power? Do that which is good, and thou shalt have praise of the same. For he is the minister of God to thee for good. This is how they're going to use the pastors. But if thou do that which is evil, be afraid, for he beareth not the sword in vain. For he is the minister of God, a revenger to execute wrath upon him that doeth evil. This is talking about the people that ain't going to be going willingly, man. So they saying they justified by doing evil because of this verse. Wherefore ye must need be subject, not only for wrath, but also for conscience sake. For this cause pay ye tribute also, for they are God's ministers. Attend continually upon this very thing. Render therefore to all their dues, tribute to whom tribute is due, custom to whom custom, fear to whom fear, honor to whom honor. And that's what they're going to use, man, to deceive the people, to try to scare them up, because people are going to be going up against what they saying, what they trying to do. Okay, you're gonna have race wars and riots behind this, man. But they're trying to use the pastors to deceive the peoples in the churches, man. Okay, with these scriptures, to twist the scriptures up, man. Because people are going to be fighting against the government, man. Hey, Lord, witness or edifying. I'm going to say all praises to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rekah, Korash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of great millstone who rule well, who teach well, and a sincere salutation to all the Akim, pushing this truth about the four winds of the earth, waking up the hopeful elect. And shalom to the Akwaf who are listening and learning. Shalom.